Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, annoyed with the B.S. by the B.O.S. I am bringing you this program today based on the happenings of the week. Um, Last week, I became a member of the NRA. Now, I don't even own a gun. So why in the world am I going to be a member of the National Rifle Association? Well, it's because I was annoyed by what the San Francisco Board of Supervisors do. Now, before I get into my annoyance, I must remind you all that the purpose of this program, the Angelic Troublemakers, is I believe that social change can happen without all of the violence, vandalism, the protests, blocking traffic, graffiti, and all of the silliness that goes with a lot of protests that get people all worked up. And in past years, hey, I admit it did work. But we're in a new day and age. And I believe that because of the advancement in technology, uh, we can do much better. However, uh, I'm annoyed by the fact that today, San Francisco Board of Supervisors, who can do an awful lot to help better the lives of many, uh, they're doing an awful lot of grandstanding that just doesn't make sense. And the latest grandstanding act was the board last week passed a resolution, non binding, meaning it's not even worth the paper it was written on, a resolution calling the NRA a terrorist organization or domestic terrorist organization. Well, at the same time, I had proposed something else. Well, as a result of the NRA calling the, I mean, the Board of Supervisors calling the NRA terrorists, they struck back. What'd they do? The NRA sues San Francisco after lawmakers declared it a terrorist organization. Now, when you really look at the fact that there are some things that can be done, I claim that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors called e-cigarettes on the carpet and they banned their sale in San Francisco. They are so righteous, they banned plastic straws because of what it's doing in the environment. But the only thing that they could muster up to do in the fight against gun violence in America is name calling. As I said last week, what is the use of name calling? Has it caused any of these so called terrorists to repent from their evil ways? No. So there are some people who support it. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, they're a terrorist organization. Yeah. But it don't stop them from promoting what they promote. In fact, not only are they suing them, I forgot to bring evidence, but they sent me my welcome packet to the NRA, and in it They're trying to tell me all of the evil things that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors are doing. Now, they didn't mention in the in the email that they sent me, that they were suing San Francisco, but it didn't stop them from pitching, trying to get some money. They want me to donate to the NRA so they can help fight against those who are trying to take away all our guns. People, there are 5 million at best. I think the numbers are inflated, but at best, 5 million NRA members. There are 393 million firearms in America. Well, now, how in the world does the NRA think that we can get rid of 393 million guns when we can't even get rid of the 5 million NRA members? So the fear tactics that they're doing, give me a break. But there's all kinds of other things that are going on that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors are neglecting and choosing to do silliness that they think is the answer. Now, the grandstanding that the Board of Supervisors has done is par for the course. And I say par for the course because before this little old stunt that they did with against the NRA, they have decided in their brilliance, well, we don't like all the negative connotations that criminals are getting. So we're going to soften the layers of how you identify them. I just don't understand how it is that the Board of Supervisors decided to call convicts, those who are released from prison, former residents. Former residents of what? Just former residents. It don't make any sense. But they spent all of their time and energy crafting up language to redefine criminals. Why? They don't want them to be tagged with the negative, the worst things that they may have done, after their release. Well, I'll tell you something. I have ministered to many young people who committed murder. And these young people, many years ago, are out and about on the streets today. Some of them are still locked up. But those who are out and about on the streets today, you look at them, and I'm telling you, you won't see murderer on their face. They're average people. And I'm not suggesting that you're running around identifying people by what the worst things that they have done. However, how is it that you're going to get the NRA to turn from its evil ways by using the the language that you're calling them, and then turn around and say to people who have committed wrong, well, we don't want to label them criminals. It doesn't make any sense. Be consistent, San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Now, I have seen over the years the San Francisco Board of Supervisors do many things that I just can't handle. And one of the things that they did is they spent $6 million honoring Harvey Milk on the San Francisco International Airport. 6 million. Couldn't care less about the fact that Harvey Milk was friends with a mass murderer. That don't make any sense. Did the NRA kill 900 mostly black San Franciscans? No. So for the Board of Supervisors to get all hot and bothered because the NRA is doing what they're doing for they're standing up for their First Amendment rights and trying to defend their Second Amendment rights. Hey, you're going to label him? Now, the lawsuit, I don't think has a chance. But this lawsuit does have some troubling language. I mean, not the lawsuit, the resolution. Because in it, the Board of Supervisors accuse the NRA of giving some support to terrorists or evildoers, shall we say. And the way it's written, I just don't think that that's necessarily true. But this will have to be worked out in the court of law. And though I don't think that they're going to win, here's the lawsuit. I can't believe that the Board of Supervisors are going to go into court and defend this lawsuit with one particular bit of information that I don't think that they'll be able to defend. Now, I must say that the NRA is really a scary little bunch. And when I say scary little bunch, I mean they're scared of their own shadow. We are not going to take away people's guns in America. But that's not the way they see it. But the thing is, we do need to get a handle on guns and gun violence. Now, last week I showed you a video of some 13-year-old shooting down Market Street. Personally, I've had 3 nephews, 7 years apart, all shot in the head. One, the shooter, missed his target and hit my nephew. He's dead. Another, there was a misunderstanding. Somebody came out to defend some woman, and they mistook my other nephew, shot him in the head. He's disabled. And I have a nephew who was shot in the head because of the silly things that he was doing. So I do have a level of understanding how things can get out of hand with firearms. How many of you have had 3 relatives shot in the head by firearms? None of the Board of Supervisors have. So for the Board of Supervisors to call the NRA terrorists, you might as well be calling a lot of the young black kids terrorists. Because the young black kids that I have experienced, they've been more terrorizing than the NRA. Now, sure, there's all kinds of people name calling and nobody's doing nothing and stuff like that. But I will say, I think that there has been a little bit of movement. And this little bit of movement, I'm proud to say, names in San Francisco are amongst them. I was reading the New York Times yesterday, and if you notice the title of this article, it says, Simply Unacceptable. Executives demand Senate action on gun violence. Now, this article is telling the story of 145 top executives in this nation who have decided, we're going to send a little note to Congress about its role in getting the gun laws passed strictly. This is the letter. It's dated September 12th, 2019. And the reason why I'm impressed with this letter is once you get down to the names of the CEOs, it says, sincerely, organizations with more than 500 employees. And if you notice, in the first batch of these, there's an awful lot of CEOs from companies that are based in San Francisco. Levi Strauss, the CEO is Chip Birch. Now, I'm not a fan of this particular CEO, but he's the one who got these 145 CEOs to sign his letter. Airbnb, San Francisco. Credit Karma, San Francisco. There's an awful lot of San Francisco companies that are on this letter. And Twitter, the head of Square and Twitter, on this letter. SurveyMonkey, that's a business here in San Francisco. They have hooked up, said, oh, that makes sense with us, Levi Strauss CEO, we'll sign on. Yelp, they signed the letter. There's a lot of other companies, not with 500 minimum employees, but there's an awful lot of employers, CEOs of these big companies that have signed on to this letter. And I am impressed by the fact that San Francisco does know how to speak up. But let's think of one aspect. Why is it that none of the 145 that I could detect were from the movie industry signing this letter? I have sent another note to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and I asked them a simple question. What if San Francisco started something to where many of the top cities of this country said that we are going to ban the film industry from filming any gun violent scenes in our cities? Won't that send a message? I was ignored. Now, I was ignored over the fact that they wanted to send this silly resolution calling the NRA terrorists. What is that going to do? Versus what is making a law banning the filming of any gun scenes on the streets of San Francisco. Now, let me tell you something. When you have a bunch of films that have a whole ton of gun violence in them. Just one film generates so many hundreds of millions of dollars that it well exceeds the $30 million that the NRA gave to members of Congress. So why are you scared of the NRA that gives a paltry $30 million to the Congress, the president, for their campaigns, when you can have these film industry executives advocating better gun safety laws, and they can cough up an awful lot more than $30 million to do the reverse of what the NRA is doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I support the NRA's right. Now, sure, they have some silly things. They don't want to give an inch on anything to do with guns. Hey, I'll be the first one to admit that there is a whole lot of safety going on with nuclear weapons. Well, I believe there's a whole lot of safety going on with the NRA teaching people gun safety. Well, I don't want a whole bunch of nuclear stuff in my backyard. Not because it won't be safe. Accidents do happen. And so for the NRA to be promoting so much of safety, which I definitely applaud, I'm not saying that I'm on board with them when they want a machine gun. You be able to carry a machine gun down the street. Now, what got, as I understand, the CEO of Levi Strauss on board a couple of years ago in one of their stores. I don't know whether it was Arizona, Texas, I don't know where it was. Some clown in one of these open carry states walking into a Levi Strauss with his rifle or handgun, I don't know what it was, his firearm. And it went off in the store. Well, now, thankfully, he was the only one injured, this clown that walked into the store with a firearm. How that happened, I don't know. But it was enough to wake up the CEO of Levi Strauss. And he put a paltry $1 million into a foundation to fight gun violence. And Michael Bloomberg, who is a billionaire in New York, he too put forth a foundation to fight gun violence. And I think his organization is called Every Town, something, something, something. Well, the term every town, where they're promoting gun safety, gun violence prevention in every town, that's basically what I'm up to. I am saying that we need a every town type law where you can't film gun violence scenes on the streets. And I say, let's see where it goes. Sure, there's a whole host of violent movies that people really enjoy where there's an awful lot of shoot 'em up. A lot of silliness. I watch these true Dateline, Forensic Files, and whatever stories. I've seen my share, well, more than my share. of a lot of these crime type issues, programs, reenactment, or just telling of the stories. Well, I'm saying that we don't need all of that violence. To tell these true stories, I think is good. But we don't need all of the fictional shoot 'em up characters and gun scenes that are in the movie industry, and they're loving them. I seen an advertisement for a movie that's coming out. Don't know what the name is. I don't watch violent movies. Don't register. But the scene of it was this ridiculously looking gun that only Hollywood invented. Now, I don't understand how it is that Hollywood decides that they're going to make a movie with an awful lot of violence in it. And instead of using the 393 million guns that we already have, they created this Hollywood style gun that looks ridiculous but looks like it can do damage. Now, how is it that we are not having Hollywood be called out for its role in gun violence in America? San Francisco Board of Supervisors. I'm saying that I am annoyed by the B.S. that comes out of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors office, because you spend so much time doing nothing, and you got kids running up and down the street shooting guns left and right, and the only thing that you can do is call the NRA terrorists. This NRA resolution came about after one of the recent shootings here. But I had asked for information because one of the supervisors who happened to author this, one of the supervisors described where called herself a gun violence prevention activist. Well, how is it that I had asked for and did not receive any information on what she has done to prevent gun violence? Because she ain't done nothing. And this little old resolution also was nothing. And so I'm not holding my breath to get a response, because I know she hasn't done anything. Because if she had done something, we would notice it in the community at some point, because the Board of Supervisors, they don't have a problem bragging about what they do. And so for them to send this little old thing up the pole and get sued by the NRA, sure, the city of San Francisco settles an awful lot of suits. But why in the world are you giving the NRA this type of attention? It don't make any sense. Let them die of natural causes, their own silliness. The NRA is up to its neck in problems with the state of New York and even Washington, D.C. over shenanigans within the higher echelons, if you will, of the organization. They're trying to spend money strangely. But the San Francisco Board of Supervisors is giving them a reason to sue. Will the suit work? I don't know. But it already worked to the fact that the NRA is using it to pitch for donations. How silly is that? I'm annoyed.